I will always be against the coaching types that basically sit there and say, hey, do this trick and you'll make it to conk next week. That crap is temporary. I want you guys to get permanent improvements, which is why we look to dissect all the itty-bitty details when we watch absolute masters of the game like this. Lucifron and Recon going up against each other on 4 lakes in a Japanese mirror. Now, this is one of the best mirrors I think that exists in the game because it has a lot of different branches to it, because a lot of the units that you can opt into feel viable for the Japanese when you reach Castle Age. I think Castle Age is still the optimal target, but on water maps, Shinobi play can work as well. However, upon arrival, you're going to see an interesting diversification here. Sometimes you see the Mounted Samurai, sometimes it's going to be the Onimusha, the Onibigisha, it's the Samurai. They all kind of squeeze in. You might say, well, KP, we can see that in any Japanese game. But the way that I appreciate it more is the way it kind of gels together when you're playing the same civ. There are some matchups where I'd say mirrors are pretty depressing. French is probably a good example of that. French mirrors are typically you build knights, I build knights, and we keep going all night, right? And you're basically waiting for someone to make a misclick in a fight to GG. With the Japanese, because of the Yorishiro and the floating gate timing, I find the game becomes more about transitional play. Transitions are quite difficult in RTSs. But something that I find amazing about the Japanese with these Yorishiro builds is how smoothly they can move from one unit comp to the other. Opening, though, we're going to have to see a little bit of Dark and Filet shenanigans. Pawns are already being secured on each side, and I am wondering how quickly in this game we're going to see an aggressive move. One thing that I find quite intriguing about Japanese mirrors here, actually, is the fact that when you're on a water hybrid map, there's a lot of griefing you can do on the pawns. Not just because of Shinobis, but because Japanese is actually one of the best civs on maps where you can test water at the dock line. The reason is the arrow slits. By gathering gold, you get the stone, right? It's more optimal than most civs in the game. It's actually why I think the 2 best civs on Holy Island right now are Juji and Japanese, and it's not even close. No mirror is worse than English mirror. I mean, dude, English mirror should just end the moment you lose your king, right? It's like regicide on horseback. I think the Khan GG is bad. I can guarantee you us English people got a bigger, deeper root in the whole monarchy crap. Not these days. I don't give a care in the world about them, but OG English back in the days. That's how they should be decided. Kind of like the idea of more of these type of leader units in the game. What if we had a shogun for the Japanese? Let me know what you guys think about this, because here's the problem. When I see, a leader or hero unit, and people immediately think on the level of Jeanne, I don't think it necessarily has to be that far. The idea of something that comes in really late in the game, like maybe it's an Imperial Age unit, that sits somewhere between what the Khan does and what Jeanne does, it's a pretty cool idea. You make an expensive unit, but it kind of reminds me of Rise of Nations. You guys remember Rise of Nations? If you played it, it had the generals that could buff up your whole army, right? And if they get sniped, you lose the buff, right? That's the balance point. As it always has been with Khans, and is meant to be with Jeanne, but doesn't always work out that way. So tech up should be on the way soon. I'm expecting a double Coca Township here. I'd be shocked if we saw alternative to that. I think there's only one player in a Japanese mirror I've seen do the Kura Storehouse build, and that's been Dumu. Credit to him, actually. Dumu won that particular game. I think you can find it on my YouTube channel. I do feel like he was in a position where he shouldn't have won, and his opponent overextended, though. And Lucifron's build is way faster because Recon has gone double pond. So there's a difference in ideas here. The logic for Recon is he'll tech up later, but he should be able to invest more workers to do so. So I'm expecting Recon to go with 8 or 9 villages when he goes for attack. Most of the food should be coming back soon. In fact, might be worth just sending back any full boats you've got to get an optimal timing here. Because this is starting to turn to kind of a worrisome trail. Recon might be looking to sneak a dock, by the way. That would make sense of his build as well. In fact, oh, come on. He sees it straight away. Wait, did he get the swing first? I think he did. They are almost pitch perfect on their timing. They might both die at the same time. A scout should be on the way. No, second villager from Recon. And I don't like his build. Coca Township for 4. That's a really big lead now for Lucifron. Now, the good news is that he's at least blocked out the dock. I love the fact that he sent villagers. Okay, this is a bit funky from Recon. Sending villagers everywhere like this is very expensive. And it's going to be a Villi switch, so there you go. Now, what you want to do if you're Recon is you want to likely move across and set up a dock in the northern corner. The problem now is because it's a Coca Township this early compared to yours, you won't be able to protect your ninja investment, right? Fact, I wonder, do you like try to set up an outpost on the enemy dock first? That could be interesting. So you set up an outpost here so that the shinobi can't kill you, and then you build a dock. Because I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret here. Outpost counters shinobi pretty hard. Yeah. Turns out, doesn't really matter if you sabotage a building that doesn't do anything other than shoot you in the face. We've actually seen this. Best example I can think of is on Golden Heights, where Vortex has this really sick build, English versus Japanese. Whereas the English, he just builds an outpost the moment his opponent techs up. And then you can't do anything to the dock. It's a little bit different on a map like Four Lakes. And instead, it looks like Recon has gone the way of just multi-docks, which means that the initial shinobi can't do anything. This western dock is still a little bit vulnerable, but something I'm starting to not like about Lucifer's build is he just has less raw eco power right now. Because he only set up the one. Oh, Recon? Oh, sorry, wait, I'm an idiot. I don't know why, I inherently just thought that that was a blue dock. Okay, we actually do have a problem here. This is Lucifer's dock. Oh no. How did he get this up? I mean, there's no way that he should have got this dock. Considering that Recon had a villager here and the scout. That's wild. First shinobi comes out. Shin is not going to work. Okay, he has a problem. Now, the good news is, with the Sabo coming through, Recon should still be able to win. Unfortunately, the shinobi are drawing fire here. And somehow getting away with it. I can't believe that. Barely any HP left over. They stay alive. And it means now this galley fight is evening up a bit more. But what's really happening is a win elsewhere for Lucifer. Because he's only investing in galleys here, right? Because he wants to snipe eco. His real goal is to now reach Castle Age. Yeah, Recon's build doesn't really make much sense anymore. He's investing pretty hard into shinobi. So he's looking for an all-in kind of timer, but he's out of position for that. Look at where he is on the map. His shinobi are nowhere near the enemy base. This is not the way you play this. If you want to try and shut your opponent down before he techs, you need to be heading towards the base, not reacting to his shinobi. Okay, that was sick. How the... You should be proud of yourself. Do you see the way he just like shuffled his belt? Like, I am done here. Guy be styling. Unfortunately, he's about to get styled on. Lucifer now on his way up at the floating gate. And this is where Recon's plan lacks clarity. Right? He's been forced to react to these docks instead of forcing reactions. And that's the problem with the later tech timing, is if he teched up first, he could have been sending it to Lucifer's side of the map, right? Because he teched up second, he had to turtle first. And Lucifer has played this textbook perfect. Shinobi needs some buff. Are you high? This unit's crazy. The only thing Shinobi need is they need a way of being produced in Imperial Age. Like, I actually think Coca Township should unlock Shinobi production through keeps. So actually, you just give them to him in Castle Age. Maybe Castle's too strong. It has to be an Imp Tech. But there should be a way of scaling Shinobi production. The reason they suck is because you have one building that produces one every 23 seconds. That's bad. Shinobi now marching in. If he Shins the tree line, he could actually do a lot of damage here. Can he read this? Recon. Yeah, actually goes for the gold. Wow, missing opportunity there. And now the dive underneath the TC. This is terrible. Okay, I don't know what he's doing anymore. Like, this is what? That may have been the most valueless dive ever. Okay, he gets something at the end. So the sabotage there is really important because that's the Yoshiro stables. So you're going to miss out on free Mountain Samurai, right? Still, that was such a waste of Shinobi. I'm baffled. Especially considering that this is a map where your opponent wants relics, right? He's now just got the central relic for free. If you think about it, actually, Recon, this play makes sense if you send one Shinobi to the stables and the rest to the relics. Look at where they are. The relic spawn is insane on this map. And somehow, despite the fact they're all close together, Lucifron just blindly ran out and got one. Damage already being done, right? We're in a game now where Lucifron barely behind on economy. Going to be ahead, really, if you think about it. And he's only now setting up the second dock. I really like this build. Like, when you're in this matchup, this is all about timings, right? When you go for a second dock, unless you can find a way of really pressuring and feudal, I think you fall behind. I've got to agree with Lucifron's perspective of just going one dock for eco is better for a fast castle build. And this matchup is all about fast castle. Like, I don't think there's actually any way you can play a feudal all-in against another Japanese player. You just don't scale quick enough. There aren't actually many civs that can contest the fast castle build of Japan. Sneaky dock attempt. Lucifron will not be able to get it up though, so good catch there with the galley. Tech up is now complete. Recon immediately queuing up the Mount Samurai, but he's already behind in the count. Walls are at least going to slow down any raid attempt, but the problem with these walls is they don't really protect the real win condition, which is the relics. This is already one relic, second one coming home. He's going to have a second Yorishiro dropping now, and then we're going to be seeing rapidly 4 relics in the base of Lucifron. Suddenly how you can sacrifice 5 Shinobi but be fine because walls take too long to die? Not really. I think it would be stupid if you could build 6 Mount Samurai and break through a wall quickly. Do you want to know how you break through a wall quickly? You take the resources you put into 6 Mount Samurai and put them into 18 Onobigisha or Samurai. Walls are fine. Walls are meant to counter Cav. It makes complete sense. Mash coming in underneath the TC. No undermesh yet. And also, melee techs are coming through from Recon. That's a bit of a blunder by Lucifron. He hasn't got a single melee tech level yet. Otherwise, he'd be dominating these fights. Numbers are still inside, though. And behind this, as we highlighted, the real win condition is in the mid-map. Only 2 relics left up for grabs, and Recon yet to move for a single one. Daimyo upgrade has come in. I'm expecting this to be mirrored. The way that this comp now goes is you want to usually go for Daimyo, and you want to go Uma Bannerman to buff your whole army. But I think Lucifron's going to try to be a crafty bugger here. Because Recon has to now do this, right? It has to be Archery range as your second Yorishiro and Onimusha. If Lucifron just goes for Spear and Onobigisha, he wins. Onobigisha annihilate Onimusha. Kaburia can kind of help you a little bit, but still, you've got this issue where you're a glass cannon that attacks way too slowly. And your movement speed difference isn't good enough permanently to stay away from Onobigisha. Flash in the base. Uma Bannerman not winning out. Just numbers against them here. Love the snipe down. That was sick micro. I love the fact that he's just targeting all the low HP ones, and look at the difference it made. Lucifron getting away with several of these Mounted Samurai at Death's Door. Oh, this is brutal. And this is now probably going to encourage the Onimusha play even more, right? No. Recon actually goes Spears. Okay. Well played. That's actually not too bad. I was expecting Onimusha after that fight, because here's the thing, guys. When you see a fight like that, it's like when you watch these knight plays, right? And your opponent starts microing away one knight at a time. You're like, wait, come back. You wish you had ranged units. So Recon still has that problem, and his opponent already has the correct Bannerman, right? Recon went into an Uma Bannerman again, but the winning play here is Katana Bannerman. And yes, Recon has returned 1 relic, but 4 to 1 relics. I mean, you don't need to be a mathematician to know who's favored here. Lucifron is in a very dominant position. Spin Clash coming in. Can we spread the lines here? Looks like it should be a good hold, though. Recon does have the defender's advantage. I think Lucifron needs to slow down a bit and get his techs. He's got Undermesh coming through. He still doesn't really have the melee techs in, though. He's only got the first level. Meanwhile, it looks like Recon's got the 2. Yeah, that's kind of wild, actually. If you don't have the level 2 melee tech yourself, at least, you are going to lose these fights. That's insane. Remember, the Spearman, like, you've given Uma Bannerman versus Katana Bannerman. Katana Bannerman, even if you didn't have the melee techs, gives a bigger gain than what the Spearmen get from Katana Bannerman. Yeah, Uma Bannerman rather gives a bit too much Bannerman talk. Uma Bannerman is better than Katana Bannerman because the base damage is way too low, right? So you're plus 2ing. With the Bannerman, you're like plus 2ing max. Movement Bannerman is going to +3 or +4. So yeah, great read there by Recon. Dive into the main now. And Lucifron, a bit of a blunder here. He needs to get a lot more production together. I'm a little bit surprised we did not see Owner Bagisha being added in instead. Actually would have been perfect against the Spearman play. In fact, like, I'm a bit baffled it wasn't Owner Bagisha on the basis that he already had Mountain Samurai lead. The most logical approach for Lucifron would have been Bagisha because it counters all the things that Recon has to do. He either has to do Spearman or he has to do Onimusha. And Owner Bagisha will beat both. And considering you've got this much food income, it's not like you're not able to build Bagisha. More than capable. Nice burn down. Talk about optimizing for it. That was adorable though. Recon even brought the Shinto priest with him. He's like, I'm going to get a relic. Oh, buddy. Not today. Lucifron was really quick on the time there as well to guarantee that didn't happen. So that's at least 3 relics on the ground though. So right now, like, gold difference between them isn't very big. And thus the eco difference isn't large. And Recon right now has a really powerful timing ahead of him because Lucifron is in the middle of a transition. If Recon keeps piling pressure on, I think Lucifron's dead. And what the Okay, that's actually kind of wild because it is good here. Your opponent is building 2 unit types which get countered by Yuumi. Spearman and Owner Bagisha both get countered by Yuumi. It's difficult the Owner Bagisha build gets too big, but that's why you keep adding in Mounted Samurai, right? So they can't get big. Dude, that's crazy. Another one of the shrines just being sniped down. Recon. I think Lucifron dropped the ball here. His timing was wrong to go in for that main fight. His techs were not there yet. He had the 4 relics. All he had to do was slow the hell down. Instead, he makes the mistake of overextending. And since then, Recon has been making all the right moves. Another reason I like Yuumi here, quicker unit to get to the front line, right? 1.38 movement speed compared to slowers. He could have probably went Owner Bagisha. That would have worked as well, actually. I'd say Owner Bagisha would have been the safer way for Recon. But considering how big his front line is, Yuumi should work. Now, the Bannerman aura is better now for Lucifron, right? He has got Katana Bannerman for the Owner Bagisha. Flash is going to come in. It's a Spear Melee Mosh Pit. A Spele Mosh Pit's a new one. I've never said that before. Block on the goal on the left side. Reinforcements are coming in. I just don't see a way that Lucifron wins this anymore, though. The game's out of his hand at this stage. It would require Recon to fight consistently underneath the TC. And even then, I feel like that wouldn't be good enough. Great clashes coming in. Lucy only really left with Owner Bagisha now, which means the Mount Samurai are going to be even better here. Villagers also being targeted down, and the Yuumi definitely getting their bang for buck. Recon, honestly, at this stage, just go for Bagisha yourself, right? Only Bagisha and Yuumi win this. Because your opponent's hard stuck on infantry now, right? He could potentially switch Samurai. I just don't think that's feasible with his gold access, especially with these raids reaching around the flanks. Wow. You know how Recon had that reputation as a bit too defensive of a player? How about now? I do think he was awkwardly defensive to a point, but the moment he had an opportunity to break out, he has not stopped. I mean, think about the Recon of a year ago. The Recon of a year ago would not have built Yuumi here. The Recon of a year ago would have started building Samurai, and he would have been slow. Too slow. But this Yuumi detail has suffocated Lucifron. I love the fact he's now just taking the fat cave veins next to his opponent's base. What a difficult position for Lucifron to now break out of. He's trying to switch into Samurai. Now, this is important. Recon needs to scout this. If he sees it, he can actually just pivot Onimusha and win. Very simply. It's very critical that he notices this detail, though, because if he runs in to 25 to 30 Samurai with Spearman and Yuumi, he'll die. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? I feel like Japanese's production rate into Castle Age is kind of what I wish we saw from more civs. I wish it was feasible across the board. I think that's a big part of why I love Japan so much, is the escalation point once you're in Castle just feels so much more visceral than most civs in the game. And I feel like it should feel that way. It's a difficult balance, though, because if you lean too much into that idea and it focuses around Castle Age, then feudal play no longer works, right? But maybe feudal should have that sort of accessibility as well. I feel like the game would be quite interesting to see with maybe production rates being upped a bit, and then the trade-off being that you can't queue production at pop, and then having the villager start be at, say, 9 or 10 villages instead of 6. Definitely an experiment worth looking at. Oh my god, dude, this one Mount Samurai? I mean, he's going to die, but 10 seconds of out of time for 24 villages is kind of worth. Recon has now prepped those Onimusha. He's got all the right reads on this game. Mass Samurai on the way from Lucy, but the problem is if this Onimusha count is even half of it, it's enough to turn the tide. Odachi tech is coming in. Lucifron is going to be forced to fight. There's no waiting now. Rams shuffling into the base. This is difficult. That Mango actually does a lot of damage against this clump, right? And you have no way of quickly reaching around. Meanwhile, the Mount Samurai are getting ready to go in. And all of a sudden, the Samurai feel pretty bad here. The only option he has is to take the main fight. Lucifron is going to march out. Mango hits coming in. Onimusha going to start targeting down the Samurai, though. And the Mount Samurai are into the back of the base again. Lucifron falling further behind. Looks like it's going to start to break the front line. Second Mango has arrived, but I just don't know if there's enough left to break through everything here. Even if you do, the eco damage is starting to add up, so he needs to mop this up quickly. Mountain Samurai are coming back now. Recon is apparently allergic to micro. He hasn't moved the range units at all. What? I can't believe that. Aura's now gone, though. And at that point, you can already see the damage falling off for Lucifron. I can't believe Recon just stood his ground with Onimusha Yumi against Onobugisha Samurai and made it look so stupidly simple. But he's done it. The Trash Panda ain't looking so trashy anymore. Instead, he's going to put Lucifron in the bin. This is big as well. Like the Yorishiro racks and stables going down to a Ram. It's like a punch to the groin. You're about to protect it temporarily, but I think it's undeniable at this stage. The food income just isn't good enough to reboom an army now. Love that switch in Onimusha. Dude, the archer range usage in this game shows you exactly why I love Japanese mirrors so much. It's the matchup where you're actually going to see archery ranges used the most. And what I love so much about that is it wasn't just about Onimusha. Yumi showed their role as well, and they actually carried their load in this game. Happy to see Recon back on the grind, though, man. I feel like he's been missing recently. I was gutted with his performance in the EGC tournament. I know he was feeling ill at the time, but I'm hoping we're going to see a different sick type of Recon in the upcoming tournaments. This is definitely a good sign, though, right? Lucifron, definitely no pushover whether we meet him on the ladder or in tournament. And I do believe Recon has the potential to whoop Lucifron's ass. He's proven it in the Hidden Cup, right, that was ran last year, the small one, where he dismantled him. And he's proving it here again. Scrappy early game, definitely room for improvement there, but Recon, with that killer instinct in the mid game, able to annihilate one of the best on the ladder right now. Let me know what you guys think of these type of mirrors, by the way. I don't know if there's a more interesting mirror right now than the Japanese one. It's one of the few that I look at, nod my head, and say, let's go.